Hi.
A bit late because I have some problems with the Zoom. I didn't have it downloaded, but yeah, that was working lightly.
No problem.
We didn't start yet, so.
Oh, that's good.
Did you bring with you something to drink?
Yes, I have my fruit cola.
Great.
So.
Set.
Hey, Marcus, I took care of your name for you, so.
Okay, safety first. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, go ahead, Valentina.
So I think we can start. So welcome everyone. Actually, today is the first time we are doing an online roundtable like this. Normally we have this kind of event during lunchtime at Kulturschöpfer, but since at the moment it's not possible, we thought to bring it online. And normally when we have this roundtable, we normally have a topic and then we discuss and we try to say what we think about it and then something like this. So today the topic will be the community, and me and Esther will be hosting this evening. And I was a former intern at Kulturschöpfer. At the moment I'm volunteering, and Esther is one of our interns at the moment. So it's also a new experience for us. It's the first time we do something like this. And we choose this topic, so the topic of community and what its role and the relevance of it in 2021, because it's a very pressing topic for us at Kulturschöpfer. Kulturschöpfer is mainly based on community, and we do things for the community, with the community, within the community. But at the moment, we don't have, the community is not present there, no, because we cannot meet, and we are suffering, we feel this missing quite a lot. And we started trying to analyze this topic through the exhibition that we have currently hanging in the Greening Gallery, which is called the Split Open. And it's a very interesting exhibition that deals with the topic of identity, community, and connectivity. And so during this exhibition, we started asking ourselves a bit more in depth what community means for us, and also how this community changed during this last year, and also what are these new ways of creating community today, since it's some struggles and some questions that we have been asking ourselves during this time. And some days ago, Marcus in a message asked me on which level of community we were, which kind of community we were thinking of. And to this question, I think that's actually a very interesting question, because I think community can be different. No, everyone can have a different understanding of communities. I think that would actually be the first point that we think it would be very interesting to discuss, what actually means community. And for us personally, for us in a business environment, for in general, also for us as Kulturschöpfer, for us as living outside in the world. So that actually would be the first let's say point that we would like to discuss about. And so that was just a small introduction to introduce you to the topic. And I hope I said everything. Esther, if I forgot something, feel free to take the floor. And
yeah, I would just like to say, if anyone from us doesn't know, Lucio is among us, and he's also among the artists who exhibited at this last exhibition at the Split Open. So we are really happy that you could join us to take part of this conversation. And I would just like to encourage everyone to jump in with questions, with opinions. We really want to make it as relaxed as it's possible. We will have some questions as well towards you, but we want to keep it a friendly discussion. And as Valentina said, our first question is, what does really community mean to us? I talked earlier to Christopher, and I asked him if it's okay if we put him on spot and ask him, as the leader of Kulturschöpfer, how would you define it? How it is for Kulturschöpfer or for you personally? What does it mean?
I of course said that I was not willing to do that, but I'll do, no, I'm just kidding. Now, I'd be more than happy to share as far as just our idea or our vision, I think, of how we desire for community to be and how we desire for it to look like. Because the reality is that community is something that can be really challenging. And we can always have an idea of what we would like it to be like, but then we live in the reality of the challenges of us being humans. And so for us, we talk about that our longing, we have a longing for community inside of us. And this longing coexists with our longing to belong, a longing to be part of something and something bigger than ourselves. And I believe that we are actually created to be in community with one another. And I say that even as an introvert, which I've come to see and learn more about myself, that actually people exhaust me. And so after this conversation, even though we're not live in a room together, I will probably go have some introvert time and be very thankful for my journey home before I get home to my 3 kids and my wife, where I'll have another form of community. But the reality is, and the research shows that actually how detrimental it is for us as human beings when we're not part of community. And that goes for introverts as well as for extroverts. And for me, I see that in my own struggle. Actually, even in this current time, as far as COVID, there was a part of me that was like, yes, I now have an excuse why I can't meet with people. It was like the introvert's dream of like, it's not able. And then came all of a sudden all these Zoom calls and like, oh, we can still meet digitally in different ways. But however, even through digital means, I realized as far as that part of me, and this is something that Esther and I were talking about today, was actually dying. That I realized that how dependent I am upon others in my own personal growth, which is part of the aspect as far as the exhibit, which also Lucy will be able to talk about, is the aspect of how intertwined our identity is connected to community. And so as I've not been able to be around as many people, I've not been able to be exposed to as many ideas, as many perspectives, as many thoughts and dreams. And if I'm not exposed to others, then I'm limited in my own views, which can be sometimes quite small. And so I've actually was struggling as I was talking to Esther about this and realizing I wonder how much this past year of my inability to interact with others have actually reduced my ability to grow personally. And yes, in this past year, I've been able to be more introspective and reflect on what's going on inside me, but have not had the same possibility of being able to do that in community with others. One thing that we talk about as well is just the fear that we all have of being in community with one another, because we've all been hurt before from others. We've all been used by others. And our pride also gets in the way of thinking, do I really need others? Or, sometimes I think I can do things faster and that I can do things better without people. However, one of the values that we have here actually is collaboration. And the reason being is because we can achieve so much more when we actually collaborate with one another, because we're not only just able to have our insights in what we're able to do alone, but when we collaborate with others, something greater is able to be achieved. And that is one of the things we talk about with longing of community, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And the only way we're able to do that is actually not when we're by ourselves, but actually when we're in community and we're able to collaborate with other, to have a bigger vision than the limitation of how we see things ourselves. And one of the other aspects, which is something that I think is absolutely beautiful about community, is how we're able to see our dependence upon people, and that in a positive way. And one of the examples I always give is just the aspect of, although I might earn my own income, I think that I'm dependent upon myself because I work and I get paid. And so therefore I can go to the store and I can buy the things that I need. But the reality is, to do that, there needs to be farmers who are actually taking care of the chickens that are laying the eggs. And then there needs to be a truck driver that's taking those eggs to get it to the supermarket of where I'm at. And then while I'm at the supermarket, there needs to be workers there actually putting the eggs on the shelf. And then on top of that, there needs to be someone who actually takes my money in the end. And so how humbling that is to think of, how can I even think that I am self-dependent or I'm independent and not in need of others, when realizing that there are actually probably hundreds of people that make it possible for me even to survive. And that is an important thing to realize, because it gives us a heart full of thanks and appreciation, but also with that, it causes us to value people that much more. And I think that's an aspect of community, is actually valuing those that you're in community with and seeing how they are serving me by doing their jobs. And so then when we see how they're serving us and caring for us by them doing their jobs, then that is where social justice becomes such a great topic, as far as wanting to make sure that people are valued in the workplace, wanting to make sure that there are rights, equal rights. I wanting to make sure that there aren't slave shops where my clothing is being produced, wanting to make sure that there's equal pay between men and women, wanting to make sure that these things are taking place because of seeing that what they do and what's going on there actually affects me. And so I care for them and I want good things for them. So one of the things that we try to do is try to value that, and we try to create a place to enable for us to be in conversation with one another, and to be a safe space for these types of conversations to take place. And our mission statement actually says, Kulturschöpfer's mission is to offer a space where the community can engage with one another, create together, and inspire each other, seeing culture holistically as something that unites us. At Kulturschöpfer, we offer cultural experiences which encourage people to dream big, and we want to empower each individual to realize that they are a culture maker, and together as a community, we have the ability to positively influence the culture and renew it to a place of thriving.
Thank you so much, Christopher. At the beginning, when you were saying that your inner introvert self at the beginning was like, yay, now I don't have to be surrounded by people all the time. I remember that actually I heard that from a lot of people, because in the beginning we didn't know how long it will take us. And yeah, even I had those moments when, now I don't have to do anything with people. But yeah, as we were discussing it today, yeah, it like we really need that inspiration from one another, because I feel like many of us have reached a state. I'm not saying all the time, but like we have those days when we are just not motivated now at all, or like we are really missing the input from others. So yeah, I would like to ask more of you, like how would you define community, and how are you doing right now? If you would like to yeah, tell your story or definition of it.
I think I will start. So actually what came to my mind when Christopher was talking was about the two aspects, actually. The fact that at the moment, like you really need to be exposed to others to be able to grow personally. I think that's actually something that I was questioning myself this morning. I was feeling so annoyed, and like, let's say, with the same color of the sky, I was feeling very gray. And then I was thinking like, I can't really think through this period. Like I don't think like I need to talk with someone, I need to confront with people. And then I actually entered in Kulturschöpfer. I met Esther, and then I had another meeting for work, and then I felt immediately like a recharge. And I think that's also something that I didn't think about it before, like the fact that actually for me community has always been something connected with habits, tradition, and sharing of let's say same values and same heritage. Maybe because I come from a heritage field and from a cultural field, so I always seen community on that, or maybe on that aspect. But actually, in the last period, I also started thinking community as really a space in which you can care for others and care for each others, and also like let's inspire each other. And I think that's something new for me, and it's something that I learned in the last period. I've never thought about community in that way, as a space in which I can get inspiration and in which I can grow and develop more my personal development, and to actually have more, let's say, ideas, and to go to, let's say, to grow bigger in every sense. So that was quite a thought that I had in the last period.
Well, I think you touched on a point that we talk about here is we experience community by being actually in community with one another. And, here at the center, we have the living room, and in the living room is a place where stories are shared, and those shared stories are what inspire us. And they inspire our heart because they get us outside of ourselves and invite us into something bigger. And so I think that is such a good reminder, Valentina, as far as, our need of others in order to be inspired by them, to see things that we're not able to see ourselves.
Yeah.
So I see that you are not really jumping on the topic yet. So maybe we can move on to our next main point. Is actually,
I think Carlos was going to say something. Carlos?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
indeed.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. So I
Didn't
really, it really caught my attention what Christopher said about being like an introvert and feeling this need after being in community of appreciating the time for himself. Like me personally, for me, community is just to say the ability that I have to share my ideas with others. And we do that basically every day. But with Corona, with COVID, like people have to stay at home. So this sense of community has been somehow reduced in a way. So for some people that haven't been able to go out from their houses, like community just disappeared. And there's people who need that sense of sharing ideas, time, or just a wave to someone. That also belongs to the sense of community. But on my side, I'm kind of an introvert too. I really, really appreciate my time by myself. But I must confess that during COVID, like there was a time when I just wanted and I felt the need of being surrounded by people. Like I really missed that. I really missed being able to go out and to say hi, even to, I don't know, to the lady who's always helping me out in the supermarket. These little things that makes us social as a human being are things, is something that unfortunately has been reduced due to the circumstances. So yes, I just wanted to share that from my personal point of view as an introvert. Like it has somehow affected me, and I believe that my sense of community, that's what I mean. And I can't believe like how people who are not introverts, who really need this sense of being, sharing constantly ideas, and or even a wave, as I said, with someone, I cannot even start understanding how they feel like this year or last year with COVID. I think it's very incredible how to see this type of behaviors that come from this different types of people, intro, extrovert.
Hey, Lucia, would you be willing to share, especially with your experience with the exhibit and how that has impacted you and your thoughts of community and actually being part of the Split Open and your artwork?
Well, I can talk about what is my idea about the community. I think the community has to do with our identity, from where we come, our family, our values, the system, and where we are. And I think this is printed in ourselves. And me as an expat also, I'm very introvert one. This sense of idea of community is very present because everything here works different. The language is different, everything's different. And I think these things have just to do with me, with my idea of community from where I come. And also, I think the pandemic, what have done with this idea is just to destroy them. Suddenly we have just to be forced just to be at home and just to I mean, there's a virus. This is something like something very small that it can be in a drop and it can kill you and all your loved ones. And this is also show how fragile we are. And I think this thing also calm us in a way, because we were like very into the routine and just to produce, just to begin the thing, just to do something. And these things just put everything upside down and show how fragile we are, how simple. And I think, I think it's a good moment also just to put all these things and just to see what is the valuable thing about it, what we can learn about it, not only about ourselves, but also as a community, how we can improve ourselves, because all these things show that the economies, the system, the vaccination, the Sputnik, or the I don't know what, make us fight with each other. And I think we have just to think about it and try to do it better. I think this situation exposes us, and it's a good way just to learn as a community too. It's a challenging time in your story. And sorry, what was the question about the exhibition?
No, you're fine. That's good.
Yeah.
I found a very interesting point that Lucio just mentioned about the fact that this situation, so like you used the word destroy, and it was like destroying the community. That's what you meant, I think, or not.
Not destroy as we know it. I mean, for us, it was very simple just to go to a bar, and now we cannot. Or just to travel. Now we cannot. We have just to do a test and all the stuff. So the things that we have for granted now is changed, and this is something that is put upside down everything in our daily life too. And also just you cannot please your parents because maybe you can bring to them the virus. So this is very a tough situation.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, that makes me think about the webinar, like an event that we watched last week about this organized by a museum in Denmark about did the pandemic kill the community? And maybe Esther can give us some points. They talk about something very interesting during this meeting. If you want to share them.
Yes, sure. There were three artists or representatives from different festivals. Like there was someone from Burning Man Festival from California, and there was an artist from Denmark, I think, Valentina, who was organizing group not exhibitions. He actually created these social interactive acts. They were painting together, and there was another a musician, from Nordic LA, and yeah, like they were discussing like how these festivals or how these group events were affected, and they were trying to come to a more optimistic point of view, like what can they do now with this new situation, because we can choose either we are just waiting for it to get back to normal again, or are we actually doing something with this what is given right now. And it was really interesting. They said that we can definitely not substitute the digital and the physical world, and of course we need that physical hug, and that can't be replaced. But I really liked how the lady from Burning Man expressed it. She said that it's more like flexing a different muscle. Like we are not necessarily doing the same thing, but there is that hidden muscle that we didn't use, we didn't even know we had, and we are flexing it right now. And I think a lot of it is happening also in Kulturschöpfer or in our personal lives, because yeah, we are kind of pushed to think differently in ways to meet each other, to create a sense of belonging, to create any impact we've been talking about. And yeah, I really liked how they approached it, that yeah, this period, we can't idealize it, we can't say that this is good, but there are ways to think of it as somewhere where we can improve. For example, we also discussed that now the digital world got really accelerated, like a lot of things are now improving or are more on the table. And for example, our gallery can like our vernissage was shown to a lot of people who would normally not come to the gallery to visit our exhibition. And yeah, maybe in the future this hybrid way can be implemented as a positive outcome of this situation. So yeah, I would be really curious. What do you think? What are ways that we can create a sense of community or belonging, or anything positive that comes out of it right now?
You mean in terms of internet, how is affecting us?
Not necessarily. For example, I can give really simple examples. We watched with Valentina that people in Berlin created, for example, balcony exhibitions for people on the street to watch. For example, art being a medium of still creating a community or inviting people together. Or for example, I know from friends that they did family gathering, and it was really professional. It was a wine tasting, and everyone ordered the same wines at their houses and invited someone online on Zoom to do a presentation about it. So I think that was again a really out of the normal type of event. So it can mean anything, but I think we are forced to do little things that that will still keep us going, still keep us meeting each other, talk to each other. Yeah.
And we also need it. We are in need just to talk with people and just to be part of do something, just beside.
Exactly.
Just to be at home and yeah.
Oh, and also just the need as far as for others, for a community to even push us to do that, you know, and I think that's something that we've really learned as far as inside Kulturschöpfer in our community, of realizing just how limited we are to even flex those muscles, or even to be aware of those muscles that we're not flexing. And earlier on in the COVID days, I wrote actually a blog that talked about walking without crutches, you know, and one of our first responses as COVID kind of hit was, okay, I normally did life this way, and I relied on these things, but now these things are taken away from me. And one of our first reactions is, you know, as you know, our crutches are taken away, we try to find any other type of support to make it happen. And one of those things, you know, was actually, you know, Zoom or online, you know, community. And we realized, okay, in some ways it's helpful, but it doesn't actually replace what was there before. And then it pushes us actually, okay, what other possibilities could there be? And one of the conversations we had, you know, as a team was, here's an opportunity. We've been doing things this way, but now we find ourselves in a new situation. So what could be new possibilities that could come out of this time, and have that time to actually explore, you know, something new, but realizing in and of ourselves we're just limited and not creative as much as, you know, when we have the conversations together. And it's been really insane for me to look on this past year as far as, despite the limitations we've had, it's been one of our most biggest years of growth in what we have actually done as an organization. And for me, it's one of those things, how is that possible? And how artists often say that they're the most creative, or not just artists, how creatives, you know, say actually they're the most creative when they have the least amount of resources, because they have a certain amount of things that they can work from, and then they're set free of like, okay, what are the thousands of possibilities that I can create with these 3 things? Whereas if they're given 1,000 things, it can be overwhelming of where do I even begin? And I think that was really a good reminder for me in my growth of having that limitation, you know, limitation on who my community is. Because before, you know, our community was anywhere on social media, and it was actually quite bigger than what I could manage. And in this season, my community was very much limited, more of who I was interacting with. And secondly, my resources were really limited. And as I reflect with you all, it's been really kind of crazy because of having both limited resources and limited community. Actually, it's been one of the biggest years of growth, not just for the organization, but for me personally as well. And would be interested as far as what other people's thoughts are on that. Persis, you were smiling there for a minute. I don't know if you were doing something else or if it was something that I said.
I didn't hear to who you asked.
Oh, Persis, you were smiling when I was talking. I didn't know if it was something I said, and I didn't know if you had something to share.
No, actually, I wanted to say something to what you said, Christopher. The fact that it's interesting what you said about the fact that before the community you thought you were part in was way bigger than what you actually find out to be your community, or the one that you are exploring now. Because it's really true, no? Then actually, today we can only, like, the resources as what they are. You can't stay 24/7 with the phone and talk with everyone. So you actually really choose the people with whom you spend time with. And that this point is very interesting, because today is also a point that came out during I was visiting the exhibition, and this friend that came to visit to do then a curatorial tour in the future, she actually pointed out exactly this point, looking at this split open exhibition, and she underlined also this point that actually today you really have to think and decide to whom you want to dedicate your resources and your time, because actually your time is limited, what you can do during a day. And then of course that reflects also on the community, because then a community you have to, like, I like to see a community as a plant. I love plants, so and then I think a community is really like a plant. You have to dedicate to the community, you have to water it, in the sense that you have to give some nutrients, you have to take care of it. And of course now we have limited time, so you can't give the same amount of care to an extreme huge community. And I think that's quite an important aspect of these limited resources and how it can influence the community aspect. I think it's a good point to think about.
I was talking with someone also as far as it requires so much more of a intentionality than any other time in our past, and it took me a while to process that, as far as like, wow, like I need to, when I want to meet someone, it's scheduling a Zoom, it is kind of what's the topic, and then it's for a certain amount of time period, and it's also just even thinking about it. And so there's an intentionality behind relationships that actually can be quite exhausting in and of itself. And the one aspect that I miss and I realize that has affected all of us is that how much of the organic growth, the organic relationship, or the organic community takes place in the unplanned. How much of the creative influence, how much of the inspiration that normally has affected us previously to COVID just was part of our lives as we came into different contexts, as we went to different locations, as we had coffees together and new conversations would spring up, as new people would join us. And there was an aspect of, as I reflect back, easiness to it. Whereas now I've realized, as far as those inspiring moments that were oftentimes organic and easy are not necessarily there as much, and that there's an intentionality as well as an energy that is being spent that exhausts me that much more. And didn't know if anyone else experienced that, or what that has looked like for them.
Well, I always wanted just to have a lot of free time, and now I have it, and I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, it's a bit too much sometimes that I feel like, wow, I have a lot of time and I can do whatever I want, but I cannot go out, I cannot do anything, and so this changed all the values. But so far for me was pandemic was really good, because I can just focus and I didn't have any distractions, so I just paint until a few days ago that I couldn't, and it was like I was so much inside my mind that it was a labyrinth somehow, and those moments I say, okay, I need just to leave the rest and take a walk and just to refresh my mind and start again.
Yeah, I feel you, Lucio, because I think exactly the same, in the sense that I also get a lot of free time in the moment, and then I was also thinking like, what can I do with that? And on one side, I also felt very pressured by the fact that I saw a lot of people everywhere around me being very creative, being very good in using this time as an opportunity to be creative, to experience new ways of doing things. And in the moment in which I couldn't really come up with anything like this, I was feeling like, okay, now what can I do? I can't think creatively. I cannot find this, I have to push myself to find and experience things in a different way, because this is what the time is requiring me. So somehow I felt this, I don't know, social pressure. I don't know exactly, I don't know, COVID pressure. I don't know how to describe it, but because I also see, like, I don't know, people, like, there are a lot of benefits at the moment now for how we are forced to face the things. So we people have to be open to new experience, because also something like this, maybe 1 year ago we would have never thought of doing a conversation like this online, because as Christopher said, we have the Wohnzimmer, and in which is very comfortable. We normally meet there, and actually Marcus has been hosting the Salon for some time now, so he knows how difficult it can be to move an event that is normally done in a comfortable environment, in a very relaxed evening, move it online. It's a completely different feeling and different environment, no? But still you are forcing to face that, and you have to be proactive to participate, no? You really are forced to, let's say, overcome any kind of problem like this. But I don't know, on the other side, I feel like, I don't know, there is also a lot of pressure. So for me, a question that came up in this period is also, how can you balance this? On one side, this need of being proactive and this need of being open to new opportunities, and on the other side, not feeling pressure about that. So for me, that's a very difficult question to answer for myself. So how to balance these feelings? And yeah, I don't know if someone also felt this in this period and faced it.
Yeah, I think that a very important point to consider at that is, I think Lucio mentioned that it's about if he mentioned that the language and the space, like if you feel in community in the place you are at the moment. Like, for example, I am from Colombia, and but I live in Germany. And it's not that I don't feel like a community here, but the sense of community that I have here is different from the sense of community that I have when I am at home. I don't know if you guys feel the same, people that come from outside of Germany. I think that's also a very important point to consider. And if you feel comfortable enough to push yourself in the place you are at the moment to build community in terms of feeling comfortable, of sharing your ideas with people. For example, sometimes I don't feel myself 100% comfortable when, I don't know, when I'm in a certain place before Corona here. It also depends also on for me, like, on the mood of the people. So I think that's also important to consider, how people are open or are willing to open themselves in certain times, depending on the space they're currently at. So I think that's important to understand also, like the sense of community we're speaking about. I don't know if you guys have similar experiences.
Yeah, I think many of us here, are not from Berlin originally. So I definitely feel what you are saying about, like, having a different experience of community here. And from my side, I actually didn't get to experience Berlin before this, so it's a whole different thing. And you said, Christopher, that now it's like trying to create with the 3 things that are given. And when other times when we have 1,000, it's maybe harder. But maybe it's the same with our free time and a lot of free space that is now. Maybe that's also a factor that is like, oh, now I have so much of it. So what, like, how do I use it? I think for my from my side, it can be similar with the freedom, just as Valentina shared. And I would, yeah.
No, just a little thing. There's a Chinese saying that say that chaos is freedom.
Yeah.
Sorry?
That chaos is freedom.
No, don't understand me wrong. I meant with, like, time-wise, or like like there is so much that I could do now what I didn't have the time for before. So no,
Yeah,
I'm not.
and now you have it. It's just a house, and you don't know what to do with it.
No, we are on the same page. I don't think this is freedom.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
That's interesting because I'm like an extrovert. So I struggled a lot and I continue to struggle. And I tried everything. I have so much tips how to reach your free time. So I subscribed on like 5 internet courses about marketing, history, art. I don't know. Every day I had a schedule of my online courses. Then I, with the friends, we created online meetings like every week, and we played some games, or we had actually wine tasting, or we created even some literature club, and we read philosophy and discuss it online. So nothing helped, I can say, for me. So I still need this physical feeling of people. And it, for me, the most like wow thing I realized during this time, that the feeling of community for me is a physical feeling. So I didn't realize that. And now after a year of not being with a lot of people, I understand that I tire very quick. I feel tired after a physical meeting with people. Before, I didn't have such a thing. So this community feeling for me is a physical feeling, and it's changing in the other circumstances. So that was crazy feeling and crazy understanding for me. I didn't recognize that.
Well, I think, as I reflect, as we talk of just, for me, community is when hearts connect. And it's so hard on a digital form for that to take place. That us having this conversation, as good as what it is distinctly different than if we were really sitting around a table physically drinking wine together, because there's a barrier that is there, that it is not there when we're around a table breaking bread, because when we break bread together, it connects us in a way, physically. It connects us in a way that we have instantly a common ground, a common table, a common thing that we are experiencing together. Also, when you eat together, you actually serve one another. Yeah, you're asking someone to pass you the wine, to pass you the bread. You're having a shared experience in a physical way that actually connects, our hearts, and through that, when our hearts are connected, there's a deeper level of connection and caring for one another that is not able for me to be able to serve and care for you. And when we care for one another and serve one another, that makes the community tighter in the way that we are interdependent upon one another, and the way that we value one another. And so I think there is an aspect of what you were just talking about, Olga, of that whole realization of, although we can do more things together than what we've ever been able to do together before, and there's more opportunities there, we're realizing that in the end, I think that is not ultimately authentic, true, deep-rooted community.
Although I must say, I met some of my really close friends via Zoom during the last year, and it's not because of COVID, but because of we live very far away from each other. So we met, and we still met, and we started, like a program. Each of us got a sheet with questions about their life and about their bringing up, and about where they got hurt and what happened in their childhood. So quite deep questions, I would say. So we started it. Each of us told her story, and the others would just listen, and afterwards we would maybe talk about it or ask some questions. So each of us had maybe 1 or 2 hours just to talk about our lives. And I found it very interesting how honest we were. And I even thought we were more open to be honest than when we lived in the same city or when we met each week. And I was wondering why it was possible to be to have such deep conversation via Zoom. And I was thinking maybe it was because we felt safe in the room we were and could be honest without getting hurt, because no one would see our daily life, no one of the others, and so they would not judge about us anymore. So I really liked that experience, that we still had such a deep conversation without living close by, right? So yeah.
Can I ask you a question? And this is where I think it's really interesting that you mentioned the point of, because you could share because you didn't have, in some ways, a fear of those people interacting, and I think that's a really interesting point. You know, when it comes to how I would see authentic community, then that fear is not there. Does it make sense? So I'm really grateful that people were able to have those types of experiences. That makes sense. And I think there's very much a value in that, and there is a place for that type of community. But you know, the authentic, deep community is where you can have those types of conversations and not have that fear of, ooh, what if they actually met my roommate, or what if they actually knew what my life here? So authentic communities to me is when I have a freedom for my whole life to be exposed and to still feel accepted by those I'm in community with, which is not possible in a digital format, just because of people can't be here, and not because of, not that could not then come to be, but that is a step forward in that direction to happening. So, because I have a really close friend that I processed, I'm crazy close. I count him actually now as one of my closest friends that I've actually never met in person. It wasn't because of COVID, it was actually prior to COVID, but because of COVID, we haven't been able to meet together. But I still have this deep longing of like, okay, if we've been able to connect at this level digitally, I long for the day for us to be able to be personally together, because I feel like I don't know him yet. I feel like I don't know fully who he is, because I have not seen where he lives. I haven't met him or experienced him personally, and so I'm very thankful for the opportunity that then the digital world's provided, but it's made me aware of still how much of a blessing those relationships could be if I were able to interact and engage in that level. So.
Yeah, that's true. I'm totally with you. A few weeks ago, I met one of the girls. I visited her, so it was so different, or it was a plus to me to meet her, because I got a different feeling for her, and I even liked her more. Yeah, that's
beautiful. I mean. And I think that's what it's all, not what it's all about. Sounds kind of cheesy, but more of, you know, I think that our longing for community is that, as far as, you know, that longing to belong and to be part of something, and then, you know, being able to be fully known. And I think we all desire to be fully known and accepted for who we are. And it's so hard in this format because of, I can always present part of how I want to be presented, which is something that we were talking about in the exhibit too, as far as connectivity of how it can be good, but social media, you know, we can also present who we want to be still, and we're not fully exposed. And although we're able to present ourselves as an image of how we might want to be seen, even if we're accepted by that, deep down in our heart, we know part of us is hidden. And so we feel like we're not fully accepted, and we know we're not fully accepted because we're not fully known. And that's something that I think is so important to community, and was important for me for Kulturschöpfers, because I was part of different communities. Some people know, for me, like, I'm kind of an artist, like I like to be creative. But then I would like be hanging out with other artists, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not really an artist. I don't feel really like I belong here, you know. And then I work as a social worker, you know. My degree's in psychology, and I'd be hanging out with them, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And then I run a nonprofit business, and I'm hanging out with other business people, and like, so there's all these places where I feel like I partly belong, but not fully, because of, you know, who I am, and that needing that space to not feel like we have to push ourselves into a particular box in order to fully be accepted, but more of to be outside the box and to have a place like Kulturschöpfer or other communities where we don't have to be afraid of being fully known, and that we can be fully accepted by not fitting a particular mold, and being able to have those fears subside, in order for us to thrive. Tabea, you haven't said much, and you always have great thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. I think what you said of presenting yourself in a certain way, for example, on social media, on YouTube, I think that's such a good point. And we need the physical community to kind of let go of that fear of having to present ourselves in a certain way, I feel like, because it's so easy to like post an image on Instagram that's perfect, but in reality, I think there's this need, as you said, deep down in us to be fully understood and to be fully valued and appreciated for what we are. And I think for that, we need like safe spaces and the right kind of people to really be our authentic selves with, and to get that feeling that it's also mutual. Yeah, so that we don't have to have the fear that we have to present ourselves in a certain way.
Well, not having that fear that I've, you know, had before, of also not wanting my brokenness to be exposed, or my weakness to be exposed, which required a lot of exhaustion and fear on my part, and being able to have of realizing I need that physical interaction, with other people, because I can only hide it for so long that in the end, people eventually see, as a lot of people on the screen know, that where my brokenness and where my weakness is. But that has not brought me to death, but actually has brought me more fully alive, because of realizing how others desire to fill in for the places where I'm weak, and to carry me along and allow me to be dependent upon them, because they want to do that for me, and realizing, wow, my weaknesses and my brokenness could actually be a gift for me and for others as well, which is a totally different paradigm shift for me.
Yeah, and also to see that you're not alone in your flaws or your brokenness, you know, that you have this community, or you have, I think that creates a community sense as well, to see that other people also have their flaws and also struggle with different things that you can relate to. And that kind of creates this feeling that you're not alone, which is also what community is to me.
Yeah, but guys, I agree with you that of course in social media conversations or connections, it's more easy to hide things, of course, yeah, or post a picture, it's more easy to hide, yeah. But I think I know so much areas. I'm in connection with people in my whole body in real life, and there's no truth. Yeah, so I think, of course, it's easier in real life, but it's the challenge everyone has to bring in the moment with to invite the other to be honest and to invite me to be honest. And I think I would not say in general it is true conversation when you are in real. So I'm not there.
I'd say more the longer that you're in community with others, the harder it becomes to hide behind the facade, or as your project, behind the mask. So I agree, and I think that's the aspect of, it is easy in the beginning because we have the strength to be able to do so, but the longer that we're in community with one another, the harder it is to actually to continue to play that role or to keep that facade up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, it's the challenge of the community creators, to create a space where I'm challenged or I'm invited to show different areas of my life, to be as a whole person. And so of course I can get to office every day, and to have my business smile and doing my thing and everything works, so I have my good clothes and my hairs are perfect, and that's the fuck, it's nothing, because when I left the office I'm another person maybe. So I think it
Well, go ahead, Valentina.
No, sorry. I just wanted to say that that's very interesting. You actually make me think about the fact that we actually could have different identities that we bring up differently based in which communities we are. Because I mean, that exactly connected to what you were saying, Marcus, that maybe in a business environment or in your office, you are one person, and when you leave the building, then you are another person. I mean, and I think that's also because I was actually talking with a friend a few days ago, and he said he had a discussion at work because he made a comment and the colleague got annoyed by that. And then he said, but I'm an honest person. Like normally I say things that I think about. Like I thought that was like this and I said it. And we were trying to discuss about the fact that there must be some boundaries. And then his point was, yes, but then I don't feel myself. If then I cannot say what I think. I mean, of course, saying diplomatically, but he said, if I cannot say what if I cannot show who am I, then I feel like I'm faking. And I think that's actually quite interesting. And maybe it's also connected with the fact that in different communities, maybe you are different. I don't know. I always say I'm from Italy, and I always say, like in Italian, I'm very funny. I'm extremely funny. I'm very, I think at myself as very funny, and then I feel like, okay, in English I can be, it's fine. In German I'm terrible. In German I'm so boring that no one would ever talk to me. And I always feel like maybe I have different personality based on the language I speak. I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. So, and it's actually interesting to think about that. And what do you wanted to say, Christopher, before I interrupted you?
Was that aspect of, I mean, that's something that, is part of my story of, when I talk about those different areas, the struggle was I always felt like I was not being fully who I was. And so I was putting on these different hats, like I was trying to be more of the artist type or being more of the social awareness or more of the business person. And just the exhaustion that it is of, in many ways, trying to live out someone that I not fully am. And there was this tension always inside me that I felt like I was being fake with myself, or I wasn't being true with who I am internally. And it was always a battle of asking, well, why am I doing this? And in the end, is it fair, not only for me, but is it fair for the others that are around me? And it was the fear, which, that you were talking about, Persis, which is also something that I struggled with is, will I be fully accepted? Will I belong? And realizing that it's either living with that fear and that internal, sometimes depression or anxiety that was inside of me in order to belong, or finally live out and thriving as far as how I've been created, and realizing that as I began sharing my story, that, that there were a lot more people like me that were also trying to put themselves in a box that didn't belong in this box. and realizing that actually many of us are feeling that we need to fit a mold because that's what the culture says. But the reality is that all of us are a lot more diverse than what we even believe or what we think other people are. And how, for me personally, as I began to then try to be more, live out fully who I am and the same in all areas of life, of how much more joy I had. And because of having that joy, although I might not fit fully in a group, I was accepted because of they could connect to my story in the ways that I was wrestling. And also, I was fully being who I was. And I didn't feel like I needed to fake being this other person that really didn't ever exist. And so it's still a process for me, but I think that we shouldn't be having these multiple personalities because it's tearing us apart. And I think it also invites other people to experience more of the freedom that we're desiring ourselves, because I think all of us is something that we all desire to have. You're shaking your head, Persis. What has been your experience? What's your thought response?
No, I can totally, I totally see that, that people have a lot of personalities, and that if we are who we are, we invite other people to be who they are. So, yeah.
Maybe not everyone is ready also to be like this. No, that's also what Marcus was saying, with the fact that you need to be like you in the moment in which you are honest, like you invite also people to be honest, no? And also what you were saying before, that you are a community in which it's a place where everything of yourself is accepted. So in that moment you can be fully yourself, and the community know you for who you are and can fully accept you. So maybe sometimes you can't really be like, you need to have multiple personalities because somehow the maybe the surroundings or it's not comfortable for you to actually be so honest. Maybe that can be a point. I don't know. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's true what you said before. If you come as a foreigner to another country, you just feel different. I lived in Canada for a while, and I was just wondering about myself, who I was. It was so different. I was not funny anymore. I couldn't say what I wanted to say, and yeah, so different. Yeah, it's as if you lost your identity. So I feel sorry for you guys.
Well, and I think, to encourage all of you, one thing that I realized for me is we all need those identity crises because we become comfortable with who we think we are. Because that has been confirmed by the communities we've been part of. And we feel that, well, this is how people have accepted me, so I need to continue on in this particular pattern of life or this particular identity because that is how I'm accepted. But deep down, part of it's a lie. And although it was hard in regards to language or relationships coming to Berlin, after some time I realized, I'm like, this is an opportunity that I have actually to really begin behaving or living out the person that I feel that I've been created to be, because there isn't the expectations of family, there isn't the expectations of previous friends or work colleagues of like, well, this is who Christopher is, or this is who Chris is. I didn't like the name, but that's who they called me, and to be able to ask, okay, how do I want to live? And how do I see this opportunity as far as not to redefine myself, but to finally actually live out who I've been created to be, and to live out of that freedom, and also then to have to wrestle with my identity of like these previous things of who I thought I was. Are they really true? And although you might have been funny in Italian, maybe just in general, you really just aren't funny and people were just laughing because they're your family. I'm not saying that's true, but there are these ideas that we think that our identities intertwined with how we've been accepted by people in the past, but isn't necessarily, true of today. And Valentina, I still think you're funny in English, so you don't need to worry about that one. So.
Thank you.
He was concerned about the German.
Exactly. Oh, those.
I mean, no one is funny in German, so you don't need to worry about that one either.
I don't believe that. I actually read a lot of nice jokes in the BVG page, and I can laugh about that.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you're working on that, huh?
Trying to learn, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult, but I can laugh now at the joke, so I think it's already like a big step.
You have to step out at the U5 at the Schillingstraße. They are the best jokes you ever read. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I look at them. I must have missed them. I saw some others, so that's really nice. And so we have been talking already for 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I think with Esther we should sum up this evening, unless someone else wants to express some other thoughts or something. Then I think we can slowly conclude this evening. So if someone wants to say something, the floor is yours.
Yes, if there's an invitation, then I always love to discuss with Christopher the 3 big areas of Kulturschöpfer, and I really like the idea of these 3 things. So I think if you in a connection one-on-one, as well as you want to create a space of community, you always it makes sense to think in these 3 areas. It's like if you want to go on the water. So yeah, you can do stand-up paddling with a friend. Yeah, okay, I have a stand-up paddling, she has a stand-up paddling, and it's a really individual style of paddling. So everyone has his own path, you are crossing the path, but it's individual, you express yourself, and it's awesome. And it's community in a way of individuality, or in a way of artist, in a way of express yourself. So, but you can always, you can also take a boat which you put with air. So you know what I mean. Big boats with are slowly, and 5 people sitting inside and drinking a beer. So there's a focus of the deep connection. There's a focus of being together. There's a focus of what Valentina, what you are saying, tradition. Yeah, of my opinion, your opinion, we are the same. So like you're getting like this. As well, you can take a kayak, where it's a competitive thing. So we have a goal. We are in a type of aggression against each other, who's the first, and that's a community as well. So and to offer all these 3 kinds of community, the people who are coming to us, I think that's the chance. Or interesting.
And one thing that connects all 3 of those is that you're experiencing something together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, one of the things that we talk about here is, that community isn't something that is, it's something that is to be experienced. And that's why we say that we want to be a place where you experience community, and not just something that it's something that you know of.
And I think that connects it to identity as well, because if you experience something, then you find your identity in that. Yeah. And only by growing, you can find your identity. If you ever find your identity, I don't know if you find it like 100%, but you can like feel, okay, this is me, this is what feels right. And only through, experiencing that, and also with other people, that's possible.
That's an excellent segue because of that aspect of, that through when we experience community, we discover more of our identity through being with others. And through that, we begin to know beauty in its fullness through knowing ourselves, through knowing others, and experience the fullness of the beauty that surrounds us, both inside of ourselves as well as those that are located around us. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we discussed a lot of very interesting points, and yeah, I was taking some notes because I thought it was very interesting, and maybe I will write a blog post because it's really that I wrote, I don't know, 5 pages in my notebook taking notes. So I don't know, we talk about a lot of different stuff. We started from what community means, and then we talk about fears, we talk about the opportunities of also like being in a community, but also on being online, so that sometimes maybe being online can help you to be a bit more fearless and to be able to explore something that otherwise maybe you would have not done it. But at the same time, we also saw how actually we need community to find ourselves, to understand ourselves better, for introverts, for extroverts to recharge themselves, for introverts to challenge themselves. And I think also I think what is very interesting, we talk about like we all brought our different points of view on what community means and how we managed to actually experience community during this time. And I think what was very interesting to see how actually we all somehow find ourselves on the, maybe not on the same page, but on the same big whiteboard. So we all found a point of connection, which I think it's very nice. And yeah, I don't know if Esther wants to add something to the evening.
Yeah, I really loved hearing your different stories. Like when you started to warm up, it was really nice to hear. And actually, now I think that we could go on longer, because now we started to have some interesting points, and maybe we would have questions towards each other, maybe one-on-one. So yeah, actually, an online conversation can be really nice. I hope you enjoyed it too. So yeah, we are really glad that you all came and shared. And yeah, let's hope to see each other next time, maybe still in the online world, but yeah, hopefully it will slowly change.
Yeah. So thank you very much. We will, so first, as Esther said, thank you very much for joining, and hopefully we'll have a second appointment, and maybe we'll discuss about something else. Anyway, feel free to also reach us out if you want to discuss about something special and particular. We are always open. We love this. We love to talk in general. So yeah. And yeah, we will put our evening conversation on our YouTube channel. Hopefully, we will inspire other people to think about this topic and to yes, also reflect on this community and its meaning, and what does mean community today. So if yeah, so I wish you a very nice evening, and thank you very much for all being here. Yeah.
Bye. Thanks for the invitation.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.